1, 2, da di da da. Oh, seems to be working. Hello. 1, 2. Look at that. Da di da. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. We'll be right with you. Hold on. Daily Brexit live at 5 Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Daily Brexit coming up shortly.
Live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m.
Live at 5 Tuesdays and Thursdays. Daily Brexit, yes, coming up soon.
Daily Brexit. One, 2, da di da da. Oh, seems to be working. Hello. Oh, look at that. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. We'll be right with you. Hold on. Daily Brexit live at 5 Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Daily Brexit coming up shortly.
Live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m.
Daily
Live
Brexit
live at 5
Tuesdays and Thursdays. Daily Brexit, yes, coming up soon.
Daily Brexit
shortly.
Live on Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Tuesdays and Thursdays. 2, da di da da. Oh, seems to be working. On Tuesdays and Thursdays. 2, da di da. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. We'll be right with you. Hold on. Daily Brexit live at 5 Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Daily Brexit coming up shortly.
Live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m.
Live at 5 Tuesdays and Thursdays. Daily Brexit, yes, coming up soon.
Daily Brexit. One, 2, da di da da. Oh, seems to be working. Hello. Oh, look at that. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. We'll be right with you. Hold on. Daily Brexit live at 5 Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Daily Brexit coming up shortly.
Live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m.
Live at 5 Tuesdays and Thursdays. Daily Brexit, yes, coming up soon.
Daily Brexit. One, 2, da di da da. Oh, seems to be working. Hello. Oh, look at that. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. We'll be right with you. Hold on. Daily Brexit live at 5 Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Daily Brexit coming up shortly.
Live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m.
Live at 5 Tuesdays and Thursdays. Daily Brexit, yes, coming up soon.
Daily Brexit.
Hey folks. Welcome to the Daily Brexit. Holding democracy to account, fighting for self-determination and exposing plutocracy. I'm Olly Connelly. Welcome to the show. And today's show, G20 takeaway, the winners and the losers, the Russians, the riots, the canapes. Anti-globalist activist and geopolitical thrill seeker Cy Jeff joins us for a bit of a rant. And you can too, by the way, if you like, please do. Crack into those real-time comments and I will try to catch up. I've got my laptop here specifically with the comments. And so, hey, we should be in business today. Yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it. In fact, you can call. You can even call. If you friend me on Facebook, Olly Connelly, I'll try and respond timely, in a timely fashion, and then you can call me. Yeah. Get on the show. Tell us what you think. Put us right. And we probably need it. Yeah, okay, that's enough. Yeah, we got some news. We got some news. Yeah, we're getting into the news. Yeah. Yeah, any questions, suggestions, corrections, addendums, please? Yeah, let us in. Let us know. Let us know. See you on the comments. Be all over the comments today. And yeah, have been having a bit of a look at what's going on with the press as we do at the top of this show, and it's been a complete failure so far, but I'll persevere on this section and see if I can get it right. So BBC, they have their papers thing every day, don't they? And I tell you, I mean, they're mainly concerned about people's language. You know, this sort of politically correct story, so far as I can tell. Metro again, Tory Brexiteer, N-word, shame. You know, I mean, yeah, it's a nasty word. It is. I think it's a great shame that anybody uses it. The fact that a lot of black youths use it very aggressively, I think, is very unfortunate. And I've heard some of the black elders say that they find it quite shameful. But whoever uses it, yeah, there's another story this week along the lines of a UK court has decreed that there's nothing illegal in us selling arms to the Saudis that are then used to kill Yemeni kids. And which story gets the press, yeah? And it just goes to show, it seems to me that sticks and stones apparently are not as dangerous as words these days. And this is just a politically correct pain in the arse. But anyway, yeah, pay cap, all that stuff going on. Basically, people trying to work out where the budget's coming from. Again, the N-word Tory MP suspended. Budget stuff, the Charlie Gard story, biological annihilation, Earth faces a 6th mass extinction. That's another study that's been carried out. Not sure its veracity to be on the front page of any of the papers, but nonetheless, there's a lot of studies coming out along those lines. Wake up and smell the coffee. An extra cup makes you live longer. Unfortunately, reading these stories probably shortens your life in the process to find these little nuggets. But yeah, okay, so, and more budget stuff, more on the Charlie Gard story and the Sun, something about, I mean, come on. Yeah, okay, drink coffee. Right, so that's basically mainstream media. And then if we go across and we go into the big fake area, you know, according to CNN, all the fake news, all that stuff. Well, there's actually quite a lot going on. There's quite a lot going on. Trump Jr., of course, is still being pulled. Well, the Trumps are still being pulled down anyway, but can be done by the fake stream. Trump Jr. is now at the center of the Russia controversy. There's just no story here. There's no substance at all. And yet it's telling how many of the papers are covering that so heavily as well. Mail Online, U.S. military reveals $65 million funding for Matrix projects to plug human brains directly into a computer. So that's something to look forward to. Things are so bad in Venezuela that people are rationing toothpaste. And apparently a tube of toothpaste costs half a week's wages. Things are really, really, really very bad in Venezuela. And that's not getting much press either, as we know. These stories that are so big that are going on our planet. Fukushima's another one. Where's the coverage of what's going on to the food chain in the Pacific? The kind of radioactive stuff that I've been reading, at least, has been washed up on the Washington state and the Oregon coastlines, and fishermen over there just not going out because they don't want to catch that kind of fish. Some of the stories, I don't know the truth of it because we're not really getting to scrutinize this kind of press. There was something that happened in the last week. It got some kind of coverage. The G20 thing gathering going on in Hamburg in Germany, and where is the angry backlash against the far left's G20 protests, is asking the Spectator in, I think, a pretty valid piece. Imagine if some far-right militia had just taken to the streets of Germany, etc., etc., etc. Yeah. Would it not be treated by something more than just weather by the BBC and any other news organizations? Imagine the weeks of reflection if a movement of the right had just left a city like Hamburg. Nothing like this. Yeah, and it's pretty awful, some of the pictures. The pictures don't want to load here now, unfortunately. I was going to show you some video, but I can't do that. But anyway, there you go. G20, 500 police injured in protests. CNN called eclectic. This is according to Breitbart. And Martin Schulz, leader of the SPD in Germany and the former European Parliament president, said the rioters' actions displayed the characteristics of terrorism. I don't know, the translation, because I think he was speaking in German. I don't know the translation exactly. But if he really is calling this terrorism, basically, they were overzealous. I mean, if they're torching cars and stuff, that's out of order. It's bang out of order. But if there's a big difference between wanton violence and destruction and terrorism, I think. And if there's any way that the elites are going to try and tell us that we cannot protest, that actually that could be construed as being a terrorist act, that's a line we don't want to be going down, Hart. And for example, in Spain, you're not allowed to take pictures of the police anymore. I think that's the case in the US as well. I'm not sure. Maybe somebody can put me right on that. In Spain, that is the case. You can't protest in front of the Parliament building either. These are not cool things. These are not cool things. So anyway, 476 police were injured during those riots, and the pictures are just incredible. I mean, I've seen these pictures of people walking through the streets with their cam or whatever, and every street there's just another couple of cars that are lit, torched, and one or two streets where half the shops are just, they've just been completely looted, ransacked. It's appalling. I'm going to be asking my guest, Jeff, a bit about that. Israel backs Hungary, says financier Soros is a threat, according to Reuters. This is actually quite an interesting story, huh? Israel is in this kind of, if you like, unholy alliance with Hungary, or vice versa. I mean, I think they're both pretty unholy, frankly. But they are both of the opinion, Orban and Bibi, that Soros is a bit of a dodgy character. And in fact, what was actually said was that Soros, according to the Israeli government, continuously undermines Israel's democratically elected government. And he has a habit of doing that, it has to be said. And actually, he might have had something to do with these riots, for all we know. Soros, his NGOs, all that. I have no idea. Anyway, he's always welcome to call us up on the show and let us know. If Brexit doesn't happen, then Britain isn't a democracy. Another story I saw in The Spectator. I was quite impressed by The Spectator today, actually. 3 of their stories I think I've got here. If Brexit doesn't happen, then Britain isn't a democracy. And this is a great editorial from Brendan O'Neill, who is basically saying, it's the casualness with which they're saying it that is truly disturbing. I'm beginning to think that Brexit may never happen, said Vince Cable on Sunday morning TV, with expert nonchalance, as if he were predicting rain. He echoed Newsnight's Nicholas Watt, who a few days earlier informed viewers that there is talk in some quarters that Brexit may not actually happen. Leaving the EU? I think that is very much open to question now, said Lord Heseltine last month. I mean, he's a bit of an old fossil, but anyway, good piece, yeah. And again, Jeff today, we're going to be talking a bit about this, and I'll play 1 or 2 quotes of 1 or 2 folks that have said things that are relevant to this as well. But that Vince Cable thing, you know what? I'm going to play that now. But I'm going to play that now because he just, I mean, can
I'm beginning to think that Brexit may never happen. I think the problems are so enormous. The problems are so enormous. The divisions within the two major parties are so enormous. I can see a scenario in which this doesn't happen.
Oh, balls. Look, I played it with a level too low. Forget it. I'll play it again in a minute. Right, okay. So let's get through this, because we got Cy waiting to have a chat. Michael Gove's welcome move to protect our fishermen after Brexit. This story is kind of a solid week old now, I guess. This is a great story, huh? Again, it's in The Spectator. They're giving it their coverage. The mainstream have covered this quite well, but I thought this was quite nice. What was it he said? He made a nice quote somewhere. I don't know. Basically, though, this is a great story, Hart. This is a really, really good story to see that the fishermen are being looked after. And here we go. Michael Gove, good on him for scrapping the 53-year-old London Fisheries Convention, which allows our near European neighbours to fish in our inshore waters as a preliminary to walking away from the common fisheries policy that allows all EU members to fish between 12 and 200 miles from our coastline. So it's you could argue it's a bit token. It's a bit, if you like, well, we're getting on with some things, Hart, and it's good to see that came from Michael Gove as well, having just got back into the cabinet. Let's hope that he is a man that we can trust to help deliver this thing. They also are covering, where's the angry backlash? Oh, I think I covered that. EU can go whistle. Boris Johnson hits out over Brussels' extortionate divorce bill demands. And that's the Brexit debate that's going on in the Commons right now. You can hear this.
Words will be broken like a thunderclap over Brussels, and they will pay attention to what he has said, and he makes a very valid point. And I think that the sums that I have seen that they propose to demand from this country seem to me to be extortionate, and I think to go whistle is an entirely appropriate expression.
Okay, go whistle. Yeah, go whistle. All right, okay, fine. So cool. We're getting some good rhetoric out there talking about this. Theresa May admits her flagship gig economy report could end up gathering dust as PM bungles relaunch. This is according to The Independent. Okay, all right. It just kind of makes you wonder, really. I mean, sure, there are issues over the budget. Obviously, they've got a very tight majority. They're being propped up a little bit by the DEP as well. She's asking for help from the Labour Party now. Cy Jeff, what do you think? How do you think this government can deliver Brexit?
Yeah, I believe they can with the help of the DUP. They tend to support the government anyway, so I think they'll squeeze it through, I believe.
It is kind of seat of your pants type stuff, though, isn't it? She had a majority of 26. I thought that she did the best thing to call the election personally and try and get that up to, a bit more, hopefully double. I was thinking, as it turned out, her campaign was rotten. It's almost as though she wanted to throw it away.
Yeah.
I don't know that I
the
trust her now.
The campaign was awful, really. She had a manifesto that targeted the Conservatives' core voters, which were the elderly, people who have been paid their pensions, or other waspy women. And basically, there was nothing in it for the youth. It was basically just a dull manifesto. And Jeremy Corbyn's was a bit of a fantasy manifesto, which a lot of people seem to like. Yeah. Okay, tell me, what is your interest? How did you get involved as an activist, a geopolitical activist? I know that you've actually done quite a lot of activism, not just so far as Brexit's concerned, but so far as the Trump campaigning was concerned. You, from my understanding, you have a pretty libertarian kind of an outlook. Yeah, I basically... as soon as Donald Trump announced he was going to always had a fascination with America anyway. But as soon as he launched he was going to run, I immediately was like joining pro-Trump groups. Basically, then all the WikiLeaks stuff started coming out, and I spent a lot of time and a lot of hours siphoning through WikiLeaks and then posting all that to pro-Trump groups. And I made quite a lot of friends in America who I'd speak to on a daily basis, even now. Basically just getting as much information out there as possible as we could, obviously exposing Hillary Clinton for what she was. And it's, he's got the right policy out there. It's about putting America first. And I think that we need to kind of take that sort of same stance with our country a little bit.
Did you not think, though, that Trump was potentially a bit of a loose cannon? I'm not saying that the choices otherwise were necessarily better or worse. I mean, we can come on to that, but I don't know. Can you understand people's concern?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the guy, he's never had any sort of political experience, at all. But, then again, like I say, Ronald Reagan, he was, from a governor, he went his way up, and then he was a president, and he was probably one of the, best presidents America's had. Again, like I said, Obama, he just spent 8 years of drawing red lines and kept getting pushed back. And then, that if you voted for Hillary, it would have just been, another 8 years of Hillary Clinton, which I can't imagine, even beginning to imagine what that would be like, because, it's the whole left wing of America, like, the people pushing, like, who are behind Antifa and all that lot, they would have just done the same thing what they did with Obama, and then we'd have had 8 years of Hillary. And I think, to be honest with you, much like the sort of situation we're seeing here now, is immigration levels would have gone through the roof. And I think, luckily with Trump, America saved itself. And we, like over here, we've kind of, like, had a bit of a half revolution sort of thing, as Nigel Farage says. We're not quite there yet.
Yes. Okay. It seems to me that Trump has done various things that I find pretty offensive, to be honest with you. For example, he doesn't seem to have any different a relationship with Saudi Arabia than we anticipated would have been the case with Hillary Clinton, who, according to the Podesta emails, was on their payroll. And that actually was one of the main reasons why I supported Trump as opposed to her, because I hoped that we would get out of this hideous cycle. And whilst, we have got this addiction to petrol, it also is just incredible that we're in cahoots with countries that have been sponsoring ISIS. And actually, I am tempted to believe the whistleblowers that say that the CIA, in fact, is sponsoring and behind ISIS, just as they set up the list, Al-Qaeda. And this is off the back of that. And that it just so happens that our allies also are supporting the people that are supposed to be. So then we had this G20 the other day. So I'm thinking, all sorts of kind of basically, where's the draining of the swamp going on? Yeah, I know there are problems. I know it's not easy. But then last week, I have to say, I was impressed with how at least Trump, shouldn't it be obvious anyway, that he gets on with the leader of Russia. That should be a, pretty important stuff. Kennedy thought so with Khrushchev. Yeah. It's pretty important stuff. He did seem to get on. And I just thought, and I actually put something out along this line on my timeline. This is great. Imagine if that had been Hillary Clinton. They wouldn't have said a word to each other practically. And she would be imposing this no-fly zone over Syria. And we are a step away from World War III, with possibly China being involved there too. We do have tensions over Syria. There's no question about it. I don't know how much of that is deep state, how much of that is Trump. But nonetheless, would you not agree, Si, that at least we have somebody who is more diplomatic than Hillary Clinton in terms of dealing with other nuclear powers.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but Hillary Clinton, when she was Secretary of State, she did a Russian reset. You might remember the famous red button that she pressed to reset relations. Well, obviously that didn't go too well. I mean, obviously, Russia's a big country. They've, asserted their military powers recently with regards to being involved in Syria. I'd rather get on with Russia than, be against them, so to speak. And there's no reason why that can't happen. If you're diplomatic with it, and but it takes both sides to want to work. And the problem with Hillary Clinton is she was a bit of a war hawk, a lot more than certain other people. But the problem with Trump is he's inherited quite a shambles. The problem with Hillary Clinton is she was a bit of a to try and fix.
Sorry, that was a bit of feedback there. Carry on.
Yeah. So he's inherited quite a mess from Obama, and trying to sort all that out is it's not going to be any sort of easy task.
No, it isn't. I agree. What was your takeout of the G20? I mean, was there actually any obvious? Well, I spent a lot of time today going through the press, and I could find nothing about the content of the G20. I'm sure there is stuff on their websites and what have you, but in terms of the mainstream media, there's nothing. Do you know what happened?
Well, basically, like I say, it's the mainstream media. They only report on what they want to suit their narrative. But it's like the supposed things that were discussed were like inclusive growth, obviously the implementation of the sustainable developments for like the Paris Accords. Obviously, Donald Trump's withdrawn from that.
So that didn't get anywhere anyway.
Say again?
That was the only thing that they were trying to ratify or something, and it didn't go anywhere because Trump said no. Yeah,
well, I mean, it's again, it's everybody has their opinions on climate. Obviously, we do have some sort of impact on it, but then you have to remember that in the 70s we're going through a cooling period, and as a planet we've had 5 ice ages in the past, so I think it's obviously humans do have an impact.
You're not a climate skeptic, are you, Mr. Jeff?
So I'm not a climate denier. I do believe we have some sort of impact, but I don't
have to send you to the gulag, mate.
Say again?
Have to send you to the gulag.
I don't believe that we have the impact that these organisations. I mean, climate change is hundreds of billions of dollars a year worth as an industry. Do you know what I mean? It's obviously, like I say, I do believe we have some impact on it. There's no doubt about that. But to the levels that some people say, I don't know. I think more investigation needs to be done into it.
Yes, indeed, it does. But in any case, Trump agrees with you and pulled the plug on that. So what else did they do?
Well, not a lot else apart from having Melania Trump locked in a hotel because she couldn't leave through tooth fears. Obviously, they were supposed to be discussing counter-terrorism and national security. I don't know how much of that have gone, but like you said yourself, not a lot of it's been reported in the press. The only thing that's been reported in the press is anything that puts Trump down or looks bad on Trump.
That's right. And Putin too. I mean, that to me was in fact, actually, one of the biggest highlights of this G20 for me was what happened before when Trump went to Poland. And the Polish response was fantastic. And he made a cracking speech. And they were all very jealous of the G20 and kind of said, why didn't you make that, speech here? And he said, well, they're very loving in Poland. In other words, why wouldn't you?
The thing with Poland is they've got they have a populist party in power, and again, like I said, it's Trump's. You can tell that it's all about America with him. I mean, you look at what everybody wore at the G20; they all had their G20 pins on. Trump refused to wear his; he wore his American flag. And another thing that hasn't been reported is he's pledged £639 million in aid to 4 countries. But again, that wouldn't be picked up on BBC or CNN or anything like that. So
Trump has.
They only report on the stuff that they want to.
Yeah, they do. Okay, we did actually get some headlines ourselves. Britain, some very good headlines off the back of the G20. Not because of the G20, but if you like, in the side rooms, there were the trade deals were going on, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest with you, from Theresa May's speech that she gave, I think it's blatantly obvious, or been made obvious, that there's a trade deal in a pipeline already with America. And again, the same, I would say, with other countries. Now, because of EU rules, obviously, if we're not allowed to deal with them. But I'm pretty sure that the deals are done. We just have to wait until we leave. I mean, it's looking good.
For the life of me, I can't see why we shouldn't be able to negotiate a trade deal. I mean, it's just ridiculous playground, childish nonsense not to be able to do a trade deal simultaneously while... Hey?
The European Union have had control of, all our trade deals since 1973.
Yes.
And basically, like I say, we're one of the biggest contributors into the European Union. Yep. And
top 4 donor.
Want us to leave,
top 4 net donor. Yes, but they nonetheless are. They can't get away with that, though. Surely. I mean, we are having some folks that are saying, well, quite a few folks, just saying, maybe we should just walk away. And actually, even May's office leaked that is an option, to walk away, to play real hard line. I mean, just about a few days ago, that was leaked. Now, I'd be surprised if that... we're playing games here, yeah. Everyone's playing games. But nonetheless, there has to be that intent, doesn't there? And it doesn't look...
I mean, there's got to be intent with what you're doing. It's the same with the nuclear deterrent that Jeremy Corbyn wants to get with. We have it, and we use that as a deterrent. And when Theresa May said that she would stand up and she would use it without hesitation, everybody was aghast. And it's the same when you come to negotiating with the European Union. It's, this is what we want for our people, and we are going to do that. And then, obviously, they're going to tell you what they want, and then you can work with that. It depends how tough they're willing to be.
I do want to just read something in Mike.com, because there was one other important takeaway. The US and Russia agreed to a ceasefire in Syria. Now, I hadn't actually realized this. While the two countries back different sides of the civil war that's plagued Syria for years, this is according to Mike.com, both sides agreed to a ceasefire in the country. Russia and Iran back Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, whereas the US is on the side of the rebel forces trying to oust Assad from power. But Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said the ceasefire agreement is our first indication of the US and Russia being able to work together in Syria. As a result of that, we had a very lengthy discussion regarding other areas in Syria that we can continue to work together on to de-escalate the areas. So, I mean... he's always said that he would work with Putin. He's never, he said that he'd rather get along with them than not. And clearly from the G20, they've both come to an agreement and they've both managed to make this ceasefire happen. Now, when you look at what Obama did, it's like Putin kept pushing Obama back, and that's the difference you get with Donald Trump. Donald Trump's an alpha male, Obama's a beta male, and when you've got two alphas pushing each other, they're going to be more likely to agree with each other, when they know they can't get away with as much as what they got away with before. You go along with the line that basically Obama was a globalist puppet, and that Trump is a genuine guy who, he happens to be a billionaire, but he's not in the club, as George Carlin put it.
Well, when you look at Donald Trump, I mean, you got to remember that he was originally a Democrat, what happened was he could see what was happening with the Democrats Party, and he switched to Republican. But when he switched to Republican, the whole establishment turned against him, and they mocked him on TV, they mocked him on shows, you know, when he announced he was running, and, you know, he done it. And I do honestly believe he wants to put America first, and that's why he's refused to take a salary, and he's donated his first quarterly check to the Arnhem Battlefield Memorial, and that money's gone there to keep with the upkeep of that.
Okay. What were where do you think, off the back of that G20, are we actually going to see any progress, really? Or is this just a lot of rhetorical nonsense? Because we have been here so many times. Is it going to be any different, do you think, with there being some sort of a dialogue between Trump and Putin? And if there were the option for there to be a dialogue over, I would have thought the most important theatre of what's going on in this world, war, unfortunately, is in Syria. I would have thought that they should have got together months ago. It should have been one of the first things that Trump did. The fact that it's taken so long, it just makes me think that I don't know exactly what. Well, Putin's game is strengthening the Russian hand. Trump's game, I guess, is strengthening the American hand too. Yeah. In the meantime, the Middle East is on fire, and the migration issue, we're seeing, what was it, 100,000 or something went into Italy over the course of 2 or 3 days, a week or so ago. I don't know, maybe it was less than that. Maybe it was 5 figures. It was a huge number of people over the course of about 48 hours. We're now back into the summer, all the chaos. It's going crazy. Is anything actually going to change, do you think? Or is this just, we're just being...
I think with regards to the European Union, I don't think things will change. I think they'll continue to let people in. Frankfurt, if you look at the figures for Frankfurt, there's more actually migrants in Frankfurt than actual Germans. And
really?
Basically, yeah, there's more migrants in Frankfurt than there is Germans. And when you start to look at things with regards to us, migration has come down, but it's not come down enough. And I don't think Theresa May is going to be able to hit a target. Again, Jeremy Corbyn definitely isn't, because despite what he says, he wants free movement to continue.
Jeremy Corbyn, it seems to me, is in a very strange place, because on the one hand, he seems pretty Eurosceptic himself, but how in charge of Labour is he really? I mean, how many Corbynistas are there on the NEC, for example? And also, most of the people that just voted for him are people that don't want Brexit.
Well, the problem you've got is Jeremy Corbyn, he was a 200-to-1 chance to win the Labour leadership when he initially took it. Obviously, a lot of left-wing people, they pushed for him to do that, and he became leader. Now, when you look at the period from the chance he took leadership, he's had 2 elections, Labour elections, to oust him. And now the problem you've got is momentum is fully pushing the Jeremy Corbyn agenda. And they're now trying to deselect moderate Labour MPs and Blairites to get rid of them from the party, which will leave the left wing in complete control of Labour. And this is the same with what happened with regards to the election. Theresa May banked on having all the Brexiteers from both sides of the aisle voting for her. Well, what happened was a lot of disavowed Labour voters who to UKIP, they then switched from UKIP back to Labour, because obviously the UKIP vote was going to collapse. It was, I pretty much guessed that from when they were running. But yeah, it's a difficult time for both parties at the moment. Jeremy Corbyn, obviously being pushed by momentum, keeps on acting like he's won the election when clearly he hasn't.
But I do wonder how long that's going to last. This left wing, it seems like a faction at the moment, even though it's technically in charge of the leadership. It just isn't, is it? The Blairites are just round the corner. Or could there be a cleansing of the Blairites? So at least whatever you think about Corbyn, at least we might have a remotely genuine opposition as opposed to a kind of a pseudo-opposition.
I think what's happening at the moment is they're looking at changing the leadership, the Labour leadership rules with regards to election. I think it's something like 15% he needs votes in order to become a leader, and I think they're trying to lower that so that they can, keep a left-wing politician in, a lot easier to get a left-wing leader in. And the problem is with regards to the whole situation at the moment, I think they're going to try and purge these moderate Labour MPs and the Blairites. I don't think they'll succeed. I think people will realise who's pushing it. I mean, every time you see protesters on the street, you've got Antifa, you've got people in Jeremy Corbyn T-shirts, you've got people walking around with SWD posters and placards, the Socialist Workers' Party, Labour. You see the union signs. I think people will come around eventually and realise who's running Labour.
So you think it is momentum? You think it is the hard left?
Yeah, definitely. When you look at the people who...
But they're not running the NEC.
No, but the guy that wrote the guy that was involved with the Labour manifesto, he was ejected from the Labour Party for his extreme views originally.
Was he? I didn't know that.
But he was kept on as an aide to...
Wasn't O'Donnell? No, it wasn't.
No. And he was eventually allowed to come back into the Labour Party because Jeremy Corbyn pressured it. And basically, he's very heavily involved with Momentum. And I think a lot of, like you say, it's a very, very left-wing manifesto. Again, parts of it are uncosted. The fact that he can't nationalise the railways until, sort of 10... I think their first contract runs out in 2020, and that goes all the way through till 2030, and that's obviously he wants to renationalise all the water and everything else. So
we've had a comment from Christopher Baxter about Corbyn. I'm pretty sure this is about Corbyn. Couldn't run a piss up even by fooling many people with an outrageous manifesto. Yeah, well, okay, that's Chris's opinion. And over on the Lib Dem side, on the other hand, we're hearing their new leader in the wings, Vince Cable. I think he's the only candidate, isn't he? I think he's the only candidate. And
yeah, I think he is. He obviously there's a lot of people going on about his age and stuff like that, but I mean, to be honest with you, age doesn't really matter with it. If you've got the energy, look at Donald Trump, he's president of the United States. Sure.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I've got no problem with his age. I'll tell you what, though, I've got some problems with his politics. Here he was the other day on the Andrew Marr show. Listen to this, what he had to say about Brexit. Yeah.
I'm beginning to think that Brexit may never happen. I think the problems are so enormous. The problems are so enormous. The divisions within the two major parties are so enormous. I can see a scenario in which this doesn't happen. And certainly, it's our policy of having a second referendum, which didn't really cut through in the general election, is designed to give a way out when it becomes clear that the Brexit is potentially disastrous.
What a git. I mean, he sounds just like, that Tim Nice but Lib Dem, his predecessor. Farron. That was his line. And this now is Cable. Cable has always been a Remainer. But, so I cannot see, how can the Lib Dems, how can they achieve anything now, really? I mean, I think
they're going to struggle, to be honest with you. I mean, considering the 48% keep on banging on about, half of the country, is this, they offered them the chance there. Now those 48% had the opportunity to vote for Liberal Democrats, and it showed in the election that most people now just want to get on with the job. They've had enough of the referendum, they've had enough of elections, they just want us to move on, to get on with the job and get the best deal for Britain. Yeah,
because it isn't 48% now. There was a YouGov poll. They did very well predicting the election, as it turned out. They had a poll. Yeah. 22% are adamant Remainers still. The rest are either Brexiteers or they've come round to, well, you know what, it was the democratic choice, so let's go with it. But then we're hearing these well, so much Ramoning. And so, for example, we had, well, let's have a listen to a couple of folks talking about it. I've got Jacob Rees-Mogg talking on the Westminster Hour about Ramonas and basically trying to put them straight.
No, we've decided to leave the European Union. If we remain under the auspices of the European Court of Justice in the single market or in the customs union, we haven't left the European Union. The British people took that decision, and the muttering off stage is basically irrelevant to that. There are some cabinet ministers who never wanted to leave the European Union. There's Vince Cable, who never wanted to leave the European Union, and they're trying to stop it. But they are opposing the result of the referendum. What we need to be talking about is why it's a great opportunity leaving the European Union, why we can be better off, why we can raise standards of living for people, what the business opportunities are around the world and domestically, the ability to have a lower price of food, of clothing, of footwear. This is a really exciting opportunity, and we need to stop Ramonerism.
Okay, all right. So I think we can agree on that. But in terms of the Ramonas in the positions that really count at the moment, I guess the Ramona in chief would be Philip Hammond. No, Si?
Yeah.
How much of a concern is he?
Definitely causing some problems.
How much of a concern is he, the Chancellor of the Exchequer being a Remainer?
Well, there was rumours before the election that obviously Theresa May was going to be getting rid of Philip Hammond. Obviously, I think his position solidified a little bit. But again, like I said, Theresa May needs to, and what people need to realise is, again, like you say, there's no such thing as a hard or a soft Brexit. There's basically something that's used to, people that want to remain. All there is Brexit, which means you have to leave the European Court of Human Rights, you have to leave the single market, and freedom of movement has to stop, and that's what has to happen. Anything else is just, remaining in the European Union, but under a different sort of guise.
I totally agree with you. But I'm going to give one more quote. This one from Nigel Farage on his LBC show the other day. And one of the reasons, by the way, I do this show at the time I do is so that you can listen to Nigel Farage afterwards, because personally I do. And he's quite good entertainment. So it's worth listening to. But no, he made some good points as well. And I think, again, it just goes to show what democracy is trying to cope with.
I see Project Fear back, absolutely on full track, and it's being aided by its friends in the liberal media. Yes, I sound like Donald Trump for a moment there, but yes, the BBC's Today programme. It's a great programme. It's been around for decades. It's got a big audience. Do you know, since Brexit, there have been 3 times the number of pro-Remain contributors to the business slot than there have been Leave-supporting experts. And you get this diet, and that's from independent research, you get this diet every single day. Brexit is going to be a disaster.
It's not views that are the problem. It's when views masquerade as news. That is the problem that we have with the mainstream media. And what he says is totally true about the BBC and CNN and pretty much everywhere, including this show, by the way, in terms of being top-heavy on guests of a certain persuasion. But if you're honest about your political persuasion, then, well, that's a start. And I think media outlets need to come with a kind of a health warning, because you know what, Si? I mean, we have labeling for things that we eat, that we consume through our stomachs. And I think we should have labeling on things that we put into our brain as well. There's some really important stuff here. And people are just being absolutely brainwashed by these debates, for example, in the run-up to the US presidential election. And they've got 9 folks around the table there, and only one of them is a Trump supporter. All the rest are Clintonistas. And they did it night after week after month. I mean, that is CNN, full stop. Clinton Eastern News Network.
When you look at what she spent on the campaign, she spent like $1.2 billion on her campaign, compared to what Trump spent. I think Trump's was somewhere around 20-30 million.
Really?
Might be less than that,
actually, I did hear that it was a lot less anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Steve Russell has chimed in to ask, has the 22%, the YouGov in that poll, I think it was 22% that said that they wanted to remain. Has that 22% been qualified? And I have to say, Steve, I'm not sure. I've read it from a couple of different sources, that YouGov poll. I'm pretty sure I read it on the YouGov site. I don't know. Do you know that, Si?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it was a YouGov poll. I think also Nigel Farage has picked up on it a few times as well on his show, saying that it'd come down. It's more like 22% now that want to actually remain in the European Union.
It is true, isn't it, that it is very hard to know what to believe and what not to believe, and it's very, very hard to know how to shore up your news consumption as well, because it's one thing getting your news or your more or less your favorite sources, but then frankly you can only be sure if you check it. And how do you check it? I don't know about you, but for me, Si, that's I spend a lot of my time doing that, and don't always get there.
No, you have to check things. I mean, I watch various news sources. Obviously, because of the sort of nature of the groups and stuff that I'm involved in on Facebook, I just go watch the BBC, so I can comment on it in the groups and stuff, and and I do, like I said, I watch other news outlets, and anything I'm not too sure on, I just research. So I go online, I look things up, and try and verify the whole situation. Because when you look at news outlets like CNN, MSNBC, and BBC, they're very, very left wing.
They're
very left wing outlets, and basically they're just reporting that fits their narrative.
Yeah, I know. It's mad. It's absolutely mad. I'm just telling them on the comment thing. I'm telling them they're a lazy lot because we haven't had many comments. We've had 2 comments. We had about 87 comments last week. I'll tell you what. Everyone's watching Wimbledon. Do you like Wimbledon, Si?
No, I'm not a great tennis fan, unfortunately.
I'll tell you what. That was an awesome match last night with Rafa Nadal and Muller, that Luxembourg guy. I mean, just incredible match. 28 games, I think it went. 28 games in the final set before, unbelievable. Yeah, I've got Steve Bays, who's just messaged me to say we need aliens to land real fast. Cheers, Steve. I appreciate that. And who says they didn't already? Steve Russell is chiming in. How do we get the media to be more in line with the public view, or is it that my views are way offline with everyone else's?
I think when you look at the, it's hard to say really. I mean, a lot of these nefarious organisations, like Open Societies, which is a George Soros organisation, they involve in it. They finance a lot of these charities or companies that are very left wing. And let's not forget, this guy was a collaborator with the Nazis during World War II.
Yeah, that's right.
He's involved heavily with left wing politics.
Yes.
So
funding groups, indirectly funding groups like Black Lives Matter, for example.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Black Lives Matter, Hope Not Hate. He's involved with all of those. So.
Yeah, and some of the groups that were associated with the riots following Trump's inauguration in cities throughout the States. Yeah,
Antifa, all that lot. He's involved in all that for sure.
What is Antifa?
Well, they're supposed to be anti-fascist, but I was reading an article yesterday, and
pseudo-fascist.
Actually read a quote out from Adolf Hitler, and they applauded it. So I don't really know what they're supposed to be. I just think they're just want to get out there and cause trouble.
I heard about that. Somebody put together a whole bunch of strap lines from Hitler's speeches, and they compiled them into one speech and played it to, was it Antifa supporters?
Yeah, to Antifa, yeah.
Antifa. Antifa. Right. Yeah. And they lapped it up and said it was all wonderful. And this is the thing, isn't it? The rhetoric it can be such a lot of nonsense, and it can be used whatever way you like. But it's actually actions that really, really count. Steve, I don't think we can get the media to be more in line with the public, except by, personally, I do not pay for propaganda. I do not pay for the BBC. I watch the BBC because, I do. And if they want to sue me, it'll make a very interesting court case. The fact is that I want to see what the enemy is saying. But I do not pay for propaganda. And I don't pay for any newspapers or what have you. I'm not about to start helping out The Guardian by donating to them when, I could be donating to things that, frankly, they maybe are more worthwhile. And I think that by people doing that, things have improved considerably. I would say that, my God, we've got so much more knowledge now than we had 10 years ago, an incredible amount more. And it's very hard to know, what is and is not worth listening to. And I use the analogy, finding news is a bit like putting your arm into your elbow into a bathtub full of crap and just, looking for a single pearl in there somewhere and trying to find a decent news source or even an accurate news story it can be a bit like that. It certainly feels like that a lot on a daily basis. But on the other hand, I think things are improving. I mean, I'll give you one small example of where I think we are making progress, and that is the Daily Telegraph, or the Bildergraph, as I like to call it, because they sure as hell seem to follow the Bildergraph agenda, the Bilderberg agenda. They used to have a strapping comment section, and folks like me came in and basically started asking some questions that some of their columnists, like Norman Tebbit, and mind you, he's actually quite cool, and a few others, they didn't like these questions that we were asking. And I was asking about the paedophiles going on in the cabinet at that time. I said I got some very interesting answers, and some very limited answers from the people I was actually asking. But eventually, Telegraph, they pulled that comment section entirely. All their commentators, I see the same names. They went over to Breitbart. And so the Telegraph is an example of a paper. They have got some comments now. I think they have like a few editors around a desk, and they ask them to do like half a dozen comments for each story. It's pathetic, the comments thing that they've got going on now. But I mean, I think it is changing. Do you not think the press is improving a little bit? I know the BBC isn't.
To be honest with you, I think since the whole social media has come out, everybody's like, they're out there, they're looking for their own information and stuff like that, different sources, and they can cross-reference and they can check everything and make their mind up for themselves. I think the media has lost a lot of power over the years, and again, like you say, with Donald Trump, a big part of his campaign was won by social media and Facebook, Twitter, even now. And I think, to be honest with you, that some of these like outrageous stories you see, they're just like headline grabbers to draw people back in. I do think the press is losing quite a lot of credibility with some of the stories they're putting out.
Corbyn also reckons that he had some, and appears to have had some tremendous success with social media. There is, I'm not saying that everybody was taken in by things that Corbyn said any more than necessarily they were by the Tories, although actually I do think that. So I am saying it, actually, yeah. I mean, come on. Who's going to pay for the student fees? Yeah? Someone's got to pay for it. Anyway. Okay, setting that aside, there is a danger that social media, it has a good side and a bad side in terms of, well, it can be used as a way to spread knowledge. It can also be used as another propaganda vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you look at the the parties that were during the election cycle over here that were using social media, there's no doubt about it that Labour has got a very effective machine on the social media side. And I think, you know, when you look at the Conservatives, so, you know, their sort of social media it doesn't even compare to Labour's, and the same with UKIP's. You know, they just had they had a few posts here and there, but when, you know, Labour they're chucking out quotes, they're chucking out, you know, GIFs and everything like that, and that's what's grabbing people's attention. And I think that unless the Conservatives and UKIP and other parties can utilise that as well as momentum as utilising it for the Labour Party, and I think that it's going to be a very powerful tool for them in the future. You were
asked if you would run as a candidate for UKIP, were you not, Si?
I was, yes. I was being lent to do that, but I had no. Unfortunately, I didn't think that Paul Nuttall was taking the party the right way, and I decided not to in the end.
That's very interesting. I think a lot of voters, by the sounds of it, agreed with you. I do wonder if this is a pause, that Brexiteers have decided, let's give this government a chance, because ultimately they're the ones that really are going to have to negotiate this. And so what choice do we have anyway? And is it not just more of a pause that's going on for UKIP? Are they not still an important pressure group that needs to get its act together?
I think with UKIP, I definitely think that they have a job in the future. They're at a critical time right now. Whether they go for a candidate who's more of the same, or, you know, who's not got, you know, the snap and the drive to do that. Again, like I said, I'm still undecided about how I feel about certain candidates. And I don't know, it's a very difficult time for UKIP at the moment, and I think what needs to happen is people need to take a step back, and they need to let democracy speak and let people choose the person that they want to run the party, rather than certain people getting involved trying to not allow that to happen. Again, like I said, you know, that's down to the NEC and what they decide to do with that. But again, like I said, it's quite a critical time for UKIP's future right now.
So, Jeff, thank you very, very much indeed. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, and I do hope you'll come on again.
Yes, of course we'll. Yeah,
that's terrific, mate. Thank you. Let's yeah. Oh, blimey! Oh, I'll tell you what. Some people have complained about this. This is all right, isn't it? Si, this theme tune thing.
I think it's a work in progress, Olly.
Good bless you. God bless you. Thank you very, very, very much to both of you for having watched us live today. God bless you. And I know that we get a good pickup in the with the archive. I know that's when people really, a couple of hours, that everyone's going to be on there. A couple of shout-outs, obviously, to Mr. Si. Jeff. Thank you so much, Mr. Geopolitical Junkie, and I do look forward to having you back on the show. Chris Ford, shout out to you. Just hey, because hey, this music is for you, actually. Want to say a big cheers to Debbie Shaw, who was on last week, because she was just really cool, as was Billy Leckie-Hauer. Thank you very much, both of you. And probably a few other people as well. Yeah, and I'm back. Daily Brexit is back on Thursday. It's Tuesday today. Yeah, back on Thursday. 5 o'clock. Tea time. And we've got Matt Snape coming on, who is a young conservative and also a freelance reporter who writes about Brexit. Matt Snape, yeah. You better turn up. Thanks a lot, folks. Ciao, ciao.